Ever wonder where electricity comes from when you flip a switch? In this video, we explore the amazing journey of electricity.
Welcome back to the Science Lab, everyone. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today. We are going to dive straight into one of the most fascinating, invisible, and literally shocking forces in the entire universe. Yep, we are unpacking the magic of electricity. Throughout this explainer, we're going to go on a journey from the very tiniest, invisible building blocks of matter all the way up to the massive machines that keep our cities lit up at night.
But before we get to the giant power plants, let me ask you something. Have you ever been walking across a carpet in your socks, minding your own business, and you reach out to touch a metal doorknob and zap? You feel that sharp little sting on your finger. Maybe you even saw a tiny, quick spark. Well, that sudden leap of energy is static electricity. And it's actually the exact same science that causes those massive lightning bolts you see during a thunderstorm, just on a much, much smaller scale.
So, here is our game plan for today's explainer. First, we'll cover the spark of science. Second, we'll meet the electrons. Third, batteries and circuits. Fourth, turbines and solar panels. And finally, inventors and measuring power.
All right, Station 1. The spark of science. Respect the zap.
Before we jump into any experiments, we really need to talk about why electricity demands our absolute respect. It's incredibly useful, sure, but it is also massively powerful. Take the number 20,000. Do you know what that represents? A single bolt of lightning from a storm cloud contains such a massive surge of energy that it holds enough electrical power to toast 20,000 slices of bread all at once. I mean, that is just a staggering display of nature's power.
Because it's so powerful, we've got some absolute non-negotiable lab safety rules. The electricity zapping from power plants into your home travels at thousands of times higher voltages than the safe little batteries we'll be using today. So rule number 1, never, ever play with household sockets. Rule 2, stay far away from outdoor power lines. If your ball rolls near a power substation, just leave it there. Rule 3, do not take apart electrical appliances, because dangerous energy can actually linger inside them long after they're unplugged. And finally, respect high voltage warnings. Electricity doesn't just shock you, those high voltages can cause severe burns. So today, we stick to our safe, small flashlight batteries.
Moving right along to Station 2, meet the electrons, the invisible building blocks.
To really get how electricity works, we have to zoom way, way in and look at the invisible world that makes up literally everything around us. Your desk, the air, the water, even you. You're made of incredibly small building blocks called atoms. We're talking so tiny that millions of them could fit on the head of a pin. Now, right at the center of an atom is a nucleus. But zooming around the outside of that center, in these little layers or shells, are much smaller particles called electrons. These spinning electrons carry a negative electrical charge, while the center holds a positive charge. And as we know in science, opposites attract. That pulling force is what holds the atom together.
So what actually is electricity? Well, in some materials, like a copper wire, for instance, the electrons on the very outside edge aren't held onto very tightly. If you give them just a little push, they can break free from their orbit and jump to the next atom, and then the next one, and the next one. That shifting, flowing movement of electrons passing from atom to atom, that is exactly what we call electricity.
Okay, Station 3. Batteries and circuits, race cars on a track.
Now that we know electricity is just moving electrons, how do we actually get them to go where we want them to? Enter the battery. Think of a battery like a chemical engine. Inside, you've got two different metals sitting in a chemical solution called an electrolyte. A chemical reaction happens in there that builds up a bunch of extra electrons on one end, making it negatively charged, while the other end becomes positively charged. The battery really wants to balance this out, so it pushes those extra electrons out to do work.
And an electric circuit is how we capture that work. For electricity to flow, it needs a continuous, closed path. Imagine those electrons racing around a wire loop exactly like race cars on a closed track. They stream out of the battery, race through the wire, travel right through a light bulb, which causes it to heat up and glow, and race back to the other end of the battery.
If you turn off a switch, you are literally breaking the track. The path is open, the race cars have to stop instantly, and boom, no flow, no electricity.
Time for Station 4, turbines and solar panels, generating big power. A small battery is awesome for a flashlight, but how on earth do we get enough racing electrons to power whole cities, hospitals, and schools? We have to generate it at massive power plants. Most of the world's electricity is made using a machine called a turbine. Think of a turbine like a giant pinwheel. First, we need a moving fluid, like wind blowing across a field, water rushing through a dam, or steam from boiling water, to push the blades. The fluid pushes the blades, making the turbine spin. This turbine is hooked up to a generator packed with huge coils of copper wire and giant magnets. As the turbine spins those magnets around the wire, the magnetic field actually pushes the loose electrons in the copper, forcing them to flow. It's literally turning the physical energy of motion into electrical energy.
But wait, there is a totally different way to make electricity that doesn't use spinning magnets at all. Contrast those mechanical turbines with solar panels. You've probably seen these on roofs or even on calculators. They are made of a material called silicon. When sunlight hits the silicon, it transfers its energy directly to the electrons, knocking them loose and creating a current. The crazy part, there are absolutely zero moving parts. It is an incredibly efficient, clean, and quiet way to just generate electricity directly from the sun.
All right, bringing it all together at our final station. Station 5, inventors and measuring power, story time and stats.
Gather round for a quick story, because the electric world we live in today is actually a shockingly recent invention. Back in 1881, the very first experimental power plant opened in England. Just a year later, in 1882, the famous inventor Thomas Edison built the first large-scale power plants in the U.S. using direct current, meaning the electrons only flow in one direction. But soon after, in the 1890s, another brilliant inventor, Nikola Tesla, came along promoting alternating current, where electrons reverse direction dozens of times a second. This sparked a fierce historical rivalry, literally known as the Current Wars. Ultimately, Tesla's alternating current triumphed because it was just so much easier to transmit over long distances to our homes. Now, with all this power flowing into our homes, we need a way to track it. We measure electrical power in a unit called watts, named after the steam engine inventor James Watt. A watt simply tells us how much energy a device uses every single second. So, a small light bulb might only need 40 watts to glow, while a big toaster might need 1,000 watts just to heat up your breakfast.
But because our homes use so much energy over a whole day, we usually measure it in kilowatts. 1 kilowatt is exactly 1,000 watts. Utility companies have a meter on the outside of your house to track how many kilowatts your family uses over time. Modern smart meters even send this data wirelessly, so the power plant knows exactly how much electricity they need to generate to keep everyone's lights on.
So, as we wrap up our lab today, I want to leave you with this final thought. Just look around the room right now. The lights, the computers, the smart boards, the refrigerators keeping our lunch cold. Can you imagine living a single day without the invisible power of moving electrons? Electricity truly is the spark of modern science, and now you know exactly how it all works. Thanks for joining me in the lab for this explainer. Keep asking those great questions, and I'll see you next time.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a new lesson.